pointing. Can you still call it a cult after PulseChain, 100+ products like launched or in the process of launching? Like there's so much shared money. There's so much like horizontal scaling going on in the ecosystem. Isn't it a movement at this point? Like Hex and PulseChain and like RH's ideals and stuff?
I'd say it's more of a religion. No, sure. Yeah, it's definitely it's a huge movement and stuff. I mean, there's a reason why no matter they want us dead, right? We're like the cockroaches. I mean, they can't get rid of us, basically. You know, we have an L1 that kind of is a thorn in the side of a lot of these corporate VC run L1s. I mean, even some of the ones that are more like grassroots, they got no shot in hell, basically. So we got the most amount of users. I mean, outside of maybe base protocol for when it originally launched, like they're not counting all the data in terms of volume that we're actually doing in terms of our ecosystem. Our ecosystem still is turning on as well. Like a lot of hexagons still don't understand a lot of the other things you can do on the ecosystem front, but still, like, we have the most amount of users. We have a lot of people DCAing. I mean, like, I've been on Solana, I've been on AVAX. They're ghost towns. There is larger whales, and like I would say, guys who have been around, veterans who've been around multiple cycles, are accumulating coins in those ecosystems for sure. Because like, you know, like, okay, no one wants to buy it now, I'll buy it, make a bid, increase the price, and then when this bull market starts off, we'll dump the shit on normies. Like that's the plan, right? And you don't really see that. You do see that, I mean, everywhere, of course, but like you actually do see real community members and real people who care about the ecosystem over here. So that's the big difference. Is like most people kind of lost their passion for the most part, outside of a very, very select few. Like sort of like destroyed the entire tribe. And there's only 3 guys left who believe. Versus like Hex, you still have a quite it was many a village and towns, and now we got a few towns that still believe in comparison.
Yeah, it's I feel like that's one of the most interesting things that's happened too, that it's hard to even realize because when you're in it so deep, it's kind of turned that, you know, the sacrifices for freedom of speech, freedom of movement, all that stuff. It's almost like RH was trying to turn this into a political party, almost like this, like channeling that inner ability for people to gather and congregate and like fight for what they believe in, channeling that into like putting more of that into the crypto community instead of just like, hey, we're here to build stuff, we're here to do stuff. It tracks a lot of the, I don't know, the natural ability for people to organize and be like, no, I want my team to win. Do you think that was intentional? Do you feel that?
I mean, partly. Like, obviously, Richard wanted to have the most reach he could possibly have. But at the same time, it's not lost on me that like he created something that was very different compared to most cryptos. Like I used to say this all the time on streams. This is back in 21, where I was all over DeFi. I mean, everywhere. I mean, from Phantom, Solana, Ava, I was everywhere that you could be in the last cycle. And the longest lockup that I found was 3 years. So the average lockup, so even VC, when you invest into a coin, you'd wait for the project launch, and then your coins would drip out to you in a year. So you'd have a 2 to 3 year lockout for VCs. You would go down liquid driver. It's be a 2-year lock. I think Curve may have been 3 years or 4 years locked. So the average lock time for the hexagons were 7 years. Even now, I think it would have been 6 years back then, but now it's 7, and some eventually maybe 8 possibly. And what's going on is that our lockup is so gigantic compared to it brings people back. Even if they sold other coins, or like, well, I did stake. Let me see what's going on over here. And they get caught up again in the fervor. And that's the thing, is that we have this really sticky mechanism that keeps bringing people back to the ecosystem. And other ecosystems don't really have that. The only other one that has that right now is probably just Bitcoin, but that's mostly based off of its legacy, its real legacy, in terms of like, it's been around all the cycles. It is the only coin that's been around all the cycles, you know? So it's really well known. Outside of that, I mean, Ethereum, it's been around like what, 2 cycles? I mean, 17 cycle, 21 cycle. This one, Hex is now a two cycle coin now. Oh, thank you very much, Kyle. Got a little coffee on deck. There we go.
Nice. Hey, my producer didn't give me any coffee. Jesus. Cool, man. Good for you.
But as time goes on, this becomes stickier and stickier and stickier, because even the value investor guys, right? Like most people, what ends up happening typically in the cycle is that the newer participants want to stake coins. Good. They as they come in, they want to stake. So they're a constant amount of people trying to stake. Then you have and then the more, I would say, cynical people that are in the Hex ecosystem will say, oh, don't stick your coins in a bull market, this. But then those same people, a good portion of them, and especially in like I know a lot of these guys were whales as well. They, whether what happens or not, they've made some profit and money, and they're buying millions and millions of Hex. Even if you've been DCA and stuff, you've been able to acquire a lot of P-Hex and E-Hex. I've told this to a lot of people. Right now, you have the most within, I would say, another 6 more months. That'll probably be the peak amount of liquid E-Hex or P-Hex that you have at that point. And what's going to happen is you're going to be hard pressed before the price pumps, because it's even for people who've been over multiple cycles, it's right now is the easiest time to stake because the price hasn't really skyrocketed. You know,